Hey, CrossFit Fenton team. It's Alan. It's me. We're sitting down to try to give you guys some ideas of what to do to prepare for the marathon row event. So we're going to talk through the day before or leading up to the marathon. We're going to talk about strategies to deploy while doing the marathon row, and then we're also going to talk about recovery and what to do after the marathon row. Why am I talking to Alan? Because he's rode multiple of these marathons by himself. How many have you done by yourself?
I think I've probably done about half a dozen by now.
Oh gosh, yeah, okay, that's more than I thought. So, and he's gonna be doing it solo again. You're bringing in your own rower?
Yep.
Gonna hammer it out by yourself, another go round of it. So yes, it's safe to say that Alan's got some experience being on the rower for multiple hours in a row. What's your best marathon row time?
I think solo was 3 hours and 20 minutes.
Yep. 3:20. So that's what we're looking at. We're looking at like a 3.5 to 4.5 hour kind of excursion here. We're going for a little bit of a stroll. And so with that, we don't, traditional CrossFitters, we don't really engage in endurance events that are that long in duration. If you have a background of running marathons and that sort of thing, you're probably excluded from that. But for the rest of us, anything stretching out above 40 minutes is really out of our wheelhouse. So we do need to talk a little bit about what to do leading up to prepare yourself for this marathon row. So let's start with fueling. What do you recommend leading up to the marathon row?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is to recognize that it starts before the event, not right before or even the morning of, but running a marathon, rowing a marathon, your prep should start a couple of days beforehand. And what I mean by that is our event is going to be on Saturday morning, so you should be thinking about starting to prepare like Wednesday night. Some people prefer a one-day carb load, which a lot of people are familiar with, which means just like eat a bunch of pizza the night before.
I just call that Thursday.
Yeah, so that's an approach and that can work, but you should know if that works for your GI system beforehand to like eat a pizza the night before and still be able to come in here and feel good. Some of us, we don't like that, and so we tend to do a 3-day carb load, which means starting Wednesday night, you're going to eat 50 to 100 grams of extra carbs each night, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday night. So that can look like some chips, it can look like some extra fruit, like however you like to get your carbs in, but trying to get 50 to 100 grams each night and kind of progressively add those carbs in to get your body ready for Saturday morning. And then with that also comes hydration of beginning to take in not only just more water, but more stuff like Element, something that has some salt and potassium in it. So I like the night before a marathon to get one of those big smart water bottles, a liter, and put Element in it and drink that before bed. And then I like to do another one in the morning, a couple hours before the event, to make sure that I'm full of carbs and I'm full of water and I'm full of electrolytes. And that ensures I have the energy to do the event, and also I don't ever have to worry about cramping or anything like that.
Yeah, the last thing you want to do is get in an hour and a half into this thing and then your hamstring starts cramping up. And at that point, it's really too late to be thinking about what kind of electrolyte thing should I have done, and then you're trying to guzzle stuff and eat stuff. So if you don't have any Element packets, and feel free to order some if you'd like to, but we have a bunch of these on hand that were some free samples, and so we'll be passing these out kind of the days leading up to the event. We'll also have some Element cans that crack like a C4 and drink. We'll have those in some coolers on hand so that you've got some cold electrolyte stuff here if you don't have something available to you. Okay, so that takes care of the leading up to from a fueling standpoint, but what about like a training perspective leading up to the event?
Great question. So what's nice is we didn't plan this, but we have a deload week coming up. So next week's training, the strength training should feel pretty easy compared to this week because it's a deload week. And then the workouts should be relatively lower skill, lower volume. So the training at the gym is kind of already set up to deload yourself towards the event. I personally don't like to take a full day off. I always feel really stiff and gross when I take a full day off. So again, thinking ahead of the marathon, I would say the last day of really intense CrossFit should maybe be Thursday. And if you know yourself and you know you like to take a day off, take Friday completely off. If you're like me, then kind of just treat Friday as active recovery, which may mean you still come to the gym and maybe you just scale the workout a lot, or maybe you come and just do some machines, or you go for a short run or row or something and just get a little bit of blood flow. So you know yourself best, but make sure whatever you do, especially should not be a lot of rowing beforehand Thursday or Friday, so that you feel really recovered on Saturday morning.
And so many of you are utilizing teams of 3, and 4. That's the most common breakdown that we have of the folks in the event. So that takes us into the day of the event, talking about strategy. Questions that many of you guys have so far, which is, how would you go about this? How would you break this thing up? What kind of distances or times on the rower would you really suggest? And so we have to break this down in teams of 2, teams of 3, or teams of 4, because the strategy is going to look different. So for myself and Griffin, we're going to be a team of 2, and the way that we break this thing down is going to be in probably some larger chunks than some teams of 3 or 4, then where we're going to have some more smaller and more constant revolving around. So just simply from a time standpoint, from intervals on the rower, a 1,000 row is going to take you on average somewhere between 4 to 5 minutes to complete. So kind of get that number in your head first. 1,000 meters for 4 to 5 minutes. Okay, so that means that a 2K, 2,000 meters, is somewhere around the 8 to 9 minute duration. So just between those two intervals, if you're a team of 3, let's say teams of 3, and you do a 1,000 meter interval, I'm on the rower for 5 minutes. My partner 2 is on for 5, partner 3 is on for 5. I have a 10-minute rest to my 5 minutes of work. That's a 1-part work, 2-part recover. If you start getting off the saddle longer than that, and let's say you rode for 10 minutes and now you have a 20-minute rest interval, you start to run the risk of tightening up a little bit, getting cold, getting stiff, right? Kind of getting out of that workout state. So there's no right or wrong here, but do consider how much rest time you're going to have for your teams, and kind of start to deploy some meters or times on the rower that keep everyone feeling relatively fresh and not sitting out so long that they're starting to feel cold. And you had a kind of distance in mind that you thought worked good as well.
Yeah, so it's important to know how far is a marathon in meters on the rower. It's 42,195 meters. And so trying to think about dividing that up where team of 2, team of 3, team of 4, you're going to be doing relatively equal work. So if you're going to be rowing 1,000s and you're a team of 3, for example, that means you're all going to do 1,000. Each round is going to be 3,000 meters. You're going to do 14 rounds of 1,000 meters. If you're a team of 3, you could also consider doing 700s, and then each round is going to be 2,100, and you would end up doing 20 rounds each of 700 meters. You could do 500s, especially a team of 4. That's going to distribute it really equally. You're going to end up doing 21 rounds of a 500-meter row. And so first things first, pacing. If your average pace for your team is 2 minutes and 30 seconds per 500 meters, right on the nose, that's going to get you done with a marathon in 3.5 hours. And so obviously anything faster than that is going to get you done faster. But recognizing that if you're thinking right now, hey, I have a team of 4, we're just going to sprint 500s back and forth. You've all done that here at the gym. We've done, maybe 5 to 8 sets of a 500-meter row. The first one feels great, the second one is okay, the third one is annoying, and then it starts to get really gross. And now just imagine doing that 21 times. So if you're thinking we're going to just sprint this thing down, across the span of a couple hours, you're going to run out of gas and it's going to get really annoying. So I would caution everybody to come in, no matter how big your team is, no matter how fit your team is, to go slower than you might think. That's the number one piece of advice I can give for endurance activity, and to use your rest wisely. Like Mitch said, you're going to have some rest, so don't just lay on the floor. Walk around, grab a C2 bike for your team and spin on the bike. That's also a good time to drink some water, drink some Element, eat some carbs, bring some dried fruit or bananas, or if you like goos or gels, whatever you got, eat some carbs during your rest so that you feel fresh to go to that next round. And again, maybe don't think about sprinting it as fast as possible.
Yeah, starting a little slower than you might think, giving yourself the opportunity to really lay on the gas pedal, because you're going to have multiple hours, multiple iterations of getting back in the saddle. And so by playing it a little smarter on the front end, gives you that opportunity to say, okay, I'm going to pick up my pace by another 5 seconds, 10 seconds per 500, and kind of keep laying on that. Many of you may want to put your rower in a setting where you can see the pace boat. And this isn't something that we utilize a lot on a day-to-day basis in CrossFit, because we're on the rower for such short intervals. But for longer durations, having that little pace boat, which is just a little game that you can see on the screen of kind of where your rower is in comparison to your goal pace, on that rower. And so you can set that up to kind of say, hey, I want to keep this at a 230 per 500. I want to keep this at a 220, a 210, a 2 minute per 500. And that will let all your teammates know, how am I falling with that pace? You'll start to see your boat falling back or speeding up a little bit. How are our transitions affecting our overall finish time? So utilizing some settings where you can set the pace boat really might be something to utilize. Is that something you've done with your marathons in the past?
I've used the pace boat, and some of you know we did a 24-hour row here at the gym at the end of last year. And there's also it's called competition mode. So if you're worried about your rower shutting off between transitions or something, we're gonna set the rowers so that they stay on for the whole 4 hours, so that the screen won't turn off. So there's competition mode and there's pace boat to keep on pace, but also make sure that if you have to get off for some reason or your transition is not great with one of your partners, you don't lose your progress.
That's great. And along that same vein with setting the monitors up, Griffin and myself will be going through all the rowers this week. We're going to blow them out with an air compressor, get all the junk that might be in the fan, slowing that thing down, lubricate all the chains so that the rowers hopefully will not be an impedance to you and you guys' performance. So along that vein on competition day, we touched on it a little bit, but overall comfort, right? So like bringing in a few luxuries that might help you out. Don't just roll in like a normal CrossFit class. Have a couple things prepared for you as you go along. For someone like me, I'm bringing in some sweat rags. That's going to be helpful. I'm going to be doing a lot of sweating. I might bring a couple t-shirts, maybe a couple pairs of pants if I tend to sweat through them. That's going to be helpful. Your team may consider, and this is not something we're going to buy as a gym, but your team may consider going to Amazon and buying one of these nice gel-supported cushion pads. You guys use one for the marathon row, is that right?
Yeah, so Rogue has very cheap, $8, a very, admittedly, very thin foam seat, which will add a little bit of help. But if you go on Amazon and you type in gel rower seat, they're $50, but they are thick. It is, orthopedic grade gel.
Dr.
And
Scholl's.
Tom Hogue brought one in for our team for the 24-hour row, and it was great. We never had an issue with chafing, with butt cramping, butt soreness, anything like that. So it's a little bit expensive, but it can make it very, very comfortable to sit on that seat for a long period of time.
Yeah, think about how much comfort matters to you. And the other thing is gloves. These are something you've worn as well.
Yeah, so these are from Rogue. These are called mechanics gloves, and they're really nice. Probably can't see it on the camera, but they are vented on the front and back. So they're designed to keep your hands dry. The inside is Kevlar, and so that's going to help absorb a lot of the friction. Whether you're rowing solo or you have 4 people, someone's hands are always going to be on the rower, which means it's going to get hot and there's going to be a lot of friction. And believe it or not, rowing for that long, you can start to develop blisters, rip your calluses off, just like up on the pull-up bar. So these will help prevent that, and these will help your hands from getting too sweaty and kind of boggy and gross and creating even more blisters aside from just the friction. And then when you get off the rower, when you're done with your shift, so to speak, take these off, dry your hands out, and then put them back on when it's your time to row again.
Yeah, definitely more important the smaller your team is, because the more time you're going to have holding that handle. The bigger your team is, maybe it's not worth it to you if you got a team of 4. Maybe you don't want to utilize the gloves, but that's up to you. The other thing, bring in a lawn chair. You're going to have some time not in the rower, and you're going to want to be comfortable for that. So yeah, we talked about stretching and moving around, but I'm going to bring in a little camp chair. I'm going to have it right there by our team. I envision, with 14 teams and a bunch of people in here, a lot of folks just kind of kicking it and having fun. So grab your most comfortable lawn chair, bring that in. We will have some boxes set up where we'll kind of keep a lot of the fueling things from food and gummies. If you got stuff, we'll want to keep those not just sitting around on the gym floor, So we'll kind of have an area staged and dedicated for you to drop all of your refreshments and keep the gym floor looking clean as we kind of roll our way through this. Entertainment-wise, we are going to have a big TV set up in the front row and place as many rowers in close proximity to that TV as possible. Admittedly, we won't be able to get all of the rowers in the front row. So if you're somebody who's like, I don't really care about watching a movie, I want to hear music or I want to put headphones on, take one of the rowers in the back row, right? We'll have 2 rows. That doesn't mean that the back row can't see the TV. You're just not going to have optimal viewing experience and hearing of the TV super well with all of the fans and all the extra people in the room. So we'll have a TV, we'll have a movie going on up front to kind of distract your brain if you want that. And then in the back, if you want to have headphones or just listen to the audio that we're playing through the gym speakers at kind of a low to moderate level, that will be available for you as well. So just kind of speak amongst your team. Kind of don't be that one person kind of in your own zone with your headphones where the rest of your team is not listening to music. Decide what you guys want to do as a group, collective, and that will help you better prepare for the things that we have the day of event. Anything else day of that you can think of you want to talk about?
No, I would just say the two biggest things are the more you eat during your rest periods and the slower you go, the more enjoyable this experience will be. As much and as hard as that is for us to realize as CrossFitters, to slow down a little bit and to maybe some of you have never ate during exercise before because you should just come into class and you don't need to eat in just an hour of exercise. So eating carbs during your rest and approaching it slow, and then if you can get faster, get faster. At the end of the day, the worst thing that can happen is that you blow it out too soon and you make it like 30,000 meters and you have to quit close to the finish line. So just kind of have that in mind. Go slow, eat a lot of food.
Yeah, it's a long event, and we're looking forward to it. And then that takes us into the day after the event, or so what to do after the marathon row. Because just don't go home and just kick it. You're going to want to do a little stretching, a little recovery. You're going to want to eat well. What advice do you have for people after they finish?
A lot of us are really concerned with protein and protein goals, which again, day to day here at the gym, that's important. An event like this, it's important to think we're not doing this to gain fitness. This is definitely going to set our fitness back a little bit. We're doing this to test our fitness. And so that means the day of, when you're done with the marathon and the next day, your priority should be replenishing all the carb stores that you just used. So maybe you are shy of your protein goal on that Saturday and maybe even shy on that Sunday. But again, the more carbs you eat, the more recovered you're going to feel. You're going to have more energy later that day. You're going to have more energy on Sunday, and you're going to feel more prepared to come back into the gym on Monday. And that's okay. It's temporarily, it's only 1 or 2 days. In the grand scheme of things, it's not that big of a deal to be a little bit shy on protein to get some more carbs in.
Yeah. And keep in mind, the week of Thanksgiving, so finishing the marathon row, coming back in the gym Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is our max out day at the gym. So, man, Saturday afternoon and Sunday, you really got to be on top of your recovery. So stretch out that low back, stretch out those hamstrings, get a lot of protein, get a lot of carbs in, and sleep. Try to optimize your sleep the best you can. That is really where your body's going to do all the healing and the recovery that you need. So prioritize some bedtimes this weekend after you finish that marathon row. Man, I think that's it. Do you have anything else for the people?
I don't.
Continue collecting donations. Remember, this is a charity event, so keep asking people in your community to sponsor you. It's 42,000 meters. Maybe they want to sponsor, a penny or a nickel for every meter, whatever that breaks down to mathematically. Maybe they just want to write you a flat check and say, hey, here you go, have some fun. But remember, we're going to collect all these funds and donate them to a local charity. So if you need to make a checkout or anything, you're welcome to make it out to CrossFit Fenton, and we'll pull all those funds together and make one sum donation after the end of this event. So keep asking for those charitable donations. We really appreciate you guys kind of kicking into making this not only fun event, but make it helpful and a priority to those folks in our community that can really use it. So the marathon event is the 23rd of November. We're going to start it at 9:30 a.m. There is no Saturday class that day. The marathon row is the Saturday class, and it is going to take us until 1:30 maybe. So if you are not rowing it, you're welcome to drop in at any time and cheer on and hang out and support those folks that are doing the event. So it'll be an open door policy for anyone that wants to come and hang out, and we hope to see a lot of folks there spectating. So good luck to you, Alan, as you do it solo again.
Thank you.
You psycho. And good luck to you guys, the rest of you that are taking it out as a team. I look forward to seeing you guys there and doing this event. The first annual, maybe, when we do this again, you guys will have to let us know if you had fun with it. All right, I hope you take the advice, put it to good use, and we'll see you guys shortly. Take care.